Welcome to Crisis in Perception. We're the show that digs into the systems shaping our world one book at a time.
So, today we're diving into Christopher Hitchens' The Trial of Henry Kissinger. Now, you might hear that title and think, okay, this is about one guy. But here's the thing. It's really not. Hitchens uses Kissinger as a lens, right? He's trying to dissect the entire structure of post-war geopolitical power. And his big argument? That the brutal outcomes we often see aren't just accidents. They're actually a result of the system's design.
And he gets right to it. I mean, from the very first pages, Hitchens makes it absolutely clear. This isn't just some political commentary. No, he's actually framing this entire book as a prosecutor's brief. He's laying out what he believes is a real, legal case for war crimes and for crimes against humanity. So, what's the big idea here? Well, the whole premise of the book is a direct challenge, a huge one, to this old idea that some people, the ones with all the power, are basically above the law.
And a case he builds, well, the list of charges is just staggering. It literally spans the globe. You're looking at things like mass civilian bombing in Indochina, complicity in genocide in Bangladesh, the destabilization of a democracy in Chile, and that's just a few. Hitchens' whole point is that these aren't just a bunch of one-off mistakes. He's arguing it's a pattern, a consistent pattern of deliberate actions that had absolutely devastating human costs.
Right, and this is the key pivot. This is where the book really shifts gears, from talking about one man to talking about the entire institution. And that's the crucial thing for us to grasp here. The book is really using Kissinger as a kind of lens to get a closer look at the machinery of foreign policy itself.
So what does he find when he looks through that lens? Well, Hitchens basically diagnoses a foreign policy system that runs on its own very specific and, often ruthless internal logic. And according to this logic, any given action isn't really judged by, say, humanitarian standards or even domestic laws. Nope. The main yardstick is how it affects America's strategic position, its power and credibility on the world stage.
Hitchens argues that the whole system works kind of like a giant shock absorber. Think about it. You've got all this geopolitical pressure, right? Rivalries, conflicts. Well, that pressure gets absorbed by actions taken far away from home. We're talking covert ops, bombing campaigns, making deals with authoritarian regimes. The whole point of this structure is to protect the core, the U.S. itself, by pushing the costs outward. And those costs, well, they're often paid in civilian lives.
Okay, so how does a system like that keep going? It's a good question. The book's answer is that it's not random. This whole architecture creates a really predictable set of incentives and outcomes.
See, the system rewards certain behaviors. It loves decisiveness, it loves secrecy, it loves aggressive action. And what does it discourage? Transparency. Anything that could lead to legal trouble or public backlash. You can see how that creates this powerful forward momentum, always leaning towards intervention and doing things behind closed doors.
And this completely reframes the whole issue, doesn't it? It suggests that if the architecture is the problem, then all these horrible outcomes, they aren't just shocking mistakes or individual moral failures. They're actually the predictable, maybe even logical results of the way the system is designed to work.
Which brings up a huge question. Why does a system like this stick around, even when people are constantly criticizing the results? According to Hitchens, a big part of the answer lies in the legal structures that are built to protect it.
For a long, long time, there was this idea of sovereign immunity. It basically acted as a legal shield for heads of state and other powerful people. But then a newer idea starts to take hold: universal jurisdiction. This is the principle that some crimes are just so awful that they can be tried anywhere by anyone. The most famous case, of course, was the one against the Chilean dictator Pinochet. And that idea directly threatens the old shield.
And here's a really fascinating little detail from the book. As this new legal thinking was gaining ground, Kissinger himself was writing anxiously about what he called the perils of universal jurisdiction. So he clearly got what it meant for him personally. As Hitchens puts it, it meant he could no longer travel quite so freely without checking in with his expensive lawyers first.
And this quote that Hitchens brings up just perfectly captures his whole argument about impunity. Laws were like cobwebs, strong enough to detain only the weak and too weak to hold the strong. He's basically saying that for most of history, the system of international law wasn't designed to catch the big fish. It was designed to let them swim right through.
All of this brings us to what is maybe the central takeaway of the whole analysis. You could call it a crisis in perception. Because really, the true subject here isn't one man's career. Yeah, the details are about Kissinger, the allegations are aimed at him, but the larger point is so much bigger. It's institutional.
See, the real danger, the critical point Hitchens is making, is that when we get laser-focused on one personality, whether we're admiring them or condemning them, we risk completely missing the architecture of power that stays in place. That system is still there, running in the background, long after any one person is gone.
And that's really the challenge the book leaves us with, right? It's asking a pretty fundamental question. When we only see the actors on the stage, are we missing the design of the stage itself? Do we miss the system that's dictating all the rules of the game?
We're able to make these explainers because they're supported directly by viewers like you. This project is free for everyone, but if you'd like to support the research and time that goes into it, you can become a supporter over on Patreon.
And hey, if you want to go even deeper on this topic, we have a much longer audio-based analysis. You can find the link to that deep dive right there in the description below.
Finally, if this is the kind of systems-level analysis you enjoy, the best way to let us know is to like and subscribe. And we really do want to hear from you, so please drop a comment with any books or topics you think we should tackle next. Thanks so much for watching.